My fiancée and I are from California, but her family lives in Colorado, and they own a cabin near Pikes Peak, way up in the mountains. After visiting them, they recommended we go stay at the cabin a few days. We are avid hikers and jumped at the opportunity. Colorado is very rich in Native American folk legend. Virtually every place you go used to belong to an indigenous community, and the few of them who remain keep the traditions and stories alive. Pikes Peak is no different. There are enough stories and gift shops to give anybody the sense that the land itself is alive. I don't know if this has anything to do with what's happening. Maybe someone is here from Colorado and could help us connect the dots. Faye and I are currently at the cabin. It's day 4, and we were planning on leaving today, but things have gotten very strange around here, and it looks like we're going to be here a while longer. We have enough food for a winter, and the heater is in stellar order, but the Wi-Fi is terrible at best, and there's virtually no cell reception. We feel isolated. We'll try to respond to the comments, but the internet dips out for hours at a time up here. The first weird thing that happened was the snow. There was no snow in the forecast, so we packed light, but on our first night here, just our luck, a blizzard pounded the whole area. My little Corolla is basically a brick of ice outside. No way I'm gonna try and make the 6-mile drive down the mountain to the town. I blame myself for trusting Colorado in spring. After a day, Thursday, of lovely hiking and sightseeing, some really unsettling stuff started happening. When we returned to the cabin just before dusk, we found an enormous dream catcher dangling from a tree about a dozen yards from the back door. This wasn't the kind you're imagining. The kind you buy from a novelty shop. This thing was made from twigs and twine, and it's about 3 feet in diameter. Absolutely humongous. Neither Faye nor I were stupid enough to touch it. We're veteran horror movie fans, and we know that's how you get cursed. If the snow melts a bit, I'll get out there and snap a picture of it and post it here. That night, while we were eating dinner, we heard a bunch of noises in the woods outside. Twigs crunching, leaves rustling, etc. This isn't unusual because we saw some elk and deer on our hike, but the sounds were slow and purposeful. They stopped and started and were rhythmic, like someone was chasing the area in a crescent shape. I used my really bright tactical flashlight to look outside from the porch, but there was nothing. We stayed in all day on Friday, and just cuddled and hung out and played some of the board games we bought, and some of the Super Nintendo games they had in the cabin. Donkey Kong Country 2 I have considered stealing because it's the greatest game ever made. It snowed again, and after dark we started hearing more noises. Around 1 a.m, Faye woke up and told me she was hearing a voice outside. I strained to listen, and I thought I could make out the sound of a man crying very far away. His voice was drowned out by the wind, so I wasn't absolutely certain of what I heard. We went back to sleep, but again, around 4:45 a.m, we heard him more distinctly and closer. He sounded like he was calling for help, but he would dip into another language that I've never heard before. We called the ranger station at the bottom of the hill using my cell phone, and they told us they'd get up there and check it out. We never saw them, but I doubt they ever came. On Saturday, shit got really scary. It snowed again in the morning. I stopped getting service for most of the day. Faye and I watched movies and tried to Skype with her family, but that didn't work. She went to sleep early, around 8, while I did some photo editing on my laptop in the living room. She woke up crying hysterically. When I asked her what was wrong, she said she'd had a dream that she was lost in the woods outside, and something was following her. I cuddled with her until she fell back asleep, and eventually I drifted off too. Faye woke me up around 1 a.m. She was absolutely beside herself. I've never seen her so afraid in my life, and just the look on her face really unsettled me. She told me that she heard the man outside again, but she recognized the voice. She was absolutely convinced that it was her grandfather's voice and that he was wandering around outside begging for help. Faye's grandpa died when we were seniors in college 4 years ago. I told her that she was dreaming, but then I heard the voice too. I never met the guy, so I wouldn't recognize his voice, but it did sound different from the night before. It sounded older. I had to do everything I could to keep her from running off into the woods looking for him. Eventually, she realized that the possibility of it being him was absurd. So we put a movie on at a good volume and fell back asleep. My cell phone wouldn't connect a single call. What happened last night, Sunday, was the thing that has sent me over the edge. Essentially the same thing happened. Around 1 AM, at which point I was still awake, almost expecting the noise to happen. I heard a voice. This time, it was a woman's. Thankfully, it was a bit distant, and distant enough that it didn't wake Faye. I walked into the bathroom and cracked the window open just a tiny bit. The frosty air that came through that crack seemed like a death sentence to me as a Californian. Nobody could survive outside for long in that. Not without serious military-grade winter gear. And yet, somebody was wandering the fuck around out there, stepping on twigs and crying. I'm a reasonable, skeptical, sometimes arrogant agnost, but I'm telling you, the voice sounded exactly like my mother's. My mum is alive and well, and living in Southern California. So my brain instantly cramped at the sound of her voice out here in the Rocky Mountains. I would know my mother's voice anywhere. I think we all would. I'm telling you. About 90% sure it was hers, which is way too sure not to scare the shit out of me. I grabbed my light and went outside with a blanket wrapped around me and my hiking boots on. I circled the entire cabin and looked around. There was snow pushed out of the way, in a big meandering pattern that snaked in and out of the tree line, like someone was drunkenly shuffling around. Maybe they were injured. The path went right up to the bathroom window, and then back into the woods. Each time the voice called out, I shouted, "Mum?" Or, "Who's there?" Or, "Who are you?" And each time, the voice receded further into the woods. I'm pretty certain it was trying to coax me deeper and deeper into the forest, away from the cabin. I'm still alive because I'm not an idiot. I'm not gonna die like some dumbass in a bad horror movie. I went back inside, and I made sure we were locked down tight. Since I can't call the ranger station, I'm posting this instead. I will keep you updated. Edit. It's Monday, and we got a hold of Faye's dad. The weather is supposed to clear up tomorrow, so he's gonna come and pick us up in his truck, and help me get my car down the mountain. I'll keep you all informed. Only one more night in this place. I'll try to get some photos up. Edit. 9:30 PM, Monday. I've been able to get online twice today. I wish I knew more about electronics, but I'm a history teacher. So, I don't think I can fix the Wi-Fi or predict when it'll work. I can send and receive emails, some Reddit posts, but I cannot load some websites or view photos. Faye hasn't been feeling well since noon. She's developed a stomachache and has been intermittently throwing up. We both ate the same thing and I feel fine, so I'm not sure what it is. She sometimes gets like this when she gets worked up. Although I'm an agnost, or atheist, she is very Catholic and is pretty convinced that something supernatural is going on. No need for alarm at the moment. She does not have a fever and I'm keeping her hydrated and in high spirits. She seems to be on the mend. Went to sleep about 1.5 hours ago. Some noises to report. Cackling and repetitive vocalizations in the forest, probably 100 yards out. The tree line starts at about 20 yards out, so this sound is coming from much deeper. Some movement spotted just behind the tree line at dusk. I could be elk, deer, etc. I couldn't see very much. Keeping all the curtains closed, windows locked, furniture in front of the door, and I'm checking on Faye every half an hour. Her dad will be here in the late morning to pick us up and dig my car out. Another Redditor near us pointed out that I am an idiot for not double-checking the weather. You are correct. I promise I'll provide an update as a new post tomorrow, should anything significant happen. I'm sorry for the delay, everyone. We are collecting ourselves. Sorry for any formatting issues. I'm writing this on my phone. Faye's dad picked us up in his truck. He brought his buddy with him, who is now following us in my car. A lot of things happened last night. Some things I won't share because I'm not sure how to interpret them yet. I'm not even sure I understand what happened, but here are the most important things. I also managed to get some recordings, which I'll try to upload when we get home to California in a few days. I tried to stay awake last night until 1 AM, because over the past few nights, that is the approximate time the noises change from rustling and branches to voices. I didn't make it. I fell asleep on the couch with my laptop open, waiting for the Wi-Fi to come back. I think this was around 12:30 at night. I woke up right around 1:15 to a muffled voice. My sleepy days. I struggled to figure out where it was coming from. I thought it was just outside the living room window, so I sat there quietly, trying to make the words out. It was a woman's voice. It said things like, "A few days. It's not mine. I'm not alone. Okay." I got up and peeked out the curtains. I didn't see anyone, but then the voice said, "It's my parents' house." And I knew the voice was Faye's. As I mentioned earlier, my fiancée has an undiagnosed sleep disorder and has extensive sleep talk, and sometimes sleepwalks. She has had pronounced night terrors since she was a little kid. I'll post a story on that someday. I walked into the bedroom to find Faye, sleeping on her tummy as usual. She didn't say anything as I came in. Two things really disturbed me about this situation, though. The first is, she appeared to be having a conversation with someone, which is actually quite common for her. But the person she was conversing with was interrogating her, asking her questions about herself, me, the cabin, etc. Second, in her sleep, Faye was imitating another voice. It wasn't hers that she was speaking with. She was altering the pitch and the tone to sound like a different person. My MO is to not wake her up when she has sleep disturbances. There's a theory behind this. Expect one someday. Instead, I gently rub her back and hair, which calms her and puts her back to a restful sleep. I did this for a few minutes, but then there was another noise off in the distance outside. I got up and walked to the window to listen, and I think this was the first time that I really felt scared enough that I felt we were in real danger. It was a child singing in the dark. I couldn't really make out much of what she was saying, but I'm certain that it was a child, probably aged 6 to 8, trying to sing a song. The snow had abated out for a while now, and the stars were notably bright, so I could see all the way to the rim of the forest, about 20 yards out. There was a figure standing there, just past the first trees, back facing me, looking up at either the moon or the tops of the trees. It stood so still that I convinced myself it was a tree stump or something, and in a few minutes it was no longer visible. My skeptical nature compels me to be reasonable and say my eyes were playing tricks on me. When I turned around, Faye was sitting straight up in bed, eyes closed. She does this a lot in her sleep. She craned her neck and said something like, "Don't let them in," or "Don't let him inside." She was still doing the weird voice, so I woke her up. Faye and I sat in the bedroom with the lights on, talking about what we should do. I tried to get online to send an email to her parents, but of course it doesn't work when you need it. We agreed to stay in the same room and try to fall back asleep. At one point, I got up to get her some water. She hadn't vomited in several hours now and was feeling a lot better. And out the kitchen window, I saw flashes of pale light. They weren't like the flashes you'd see when someone walks through the woods with a flashlight. They were more like if someone had a lantern that they could slowly turn on and off. I flicked on the porch lights to the front and side of the house, hoping that it would discourage anyone from trying to approach. But as I walked back to the bedroom, I saw the distinct outline of a person through the window curtain in the living room. They were pressed against the glass with their hands on it, trying to peer inside. Since it was dark in the living room and bright outside, I could clearly see their silhouette. I shouted and approached the window, but the person ran off before I pulled the curtain open. Faye slept soundly, but I continued to hear voices outside, different ones, on and off, all night until dawn. I wrote several of them down. I couldn't sleep, so I camped out in the living room. I kept the bedroom door open so I could hear Faye if she started talking again. The voices would go away for hours and then start back up again. At one point I fell asleep because I was awoken by the sound of a light flicking on and off. On the couch, I could see light from outside going on and off in patterns of 5. I can't explain why this disturbed me so much, but it did. And I imagined some kind of horrible creature standing in my house somewhere, flipping the switch up and down and smiling. My first instinct was to check on Faye, and I nearly had a heart attack when I saw that she wasn't in bed. I started calling her name and pacing around the house, looking out the windows to see if she was outside. When I looked out the kitchen window, there she was, sitting on the hood of my car, about 30 feet out in the driveway. Her back was to me. She was staring off into the forest. She was absolutely rigid, just the way she sits up in bed when she's asleep. Faye has sleepwalked all over the house back home in California. I found her in the kitchen, and the downstairs hallway, and the living room. But she's never gone outside. I shouted her name from the kitchen, but the second I did, Faye jumped off my car and dashed into the woods at full sprint. She never looked back at me. I started flipping out, screaming her name over and over. I scrambled to grab my boots to go after her, but the second I pulled the front door open, Faye called out my name from behind. She was standing in the hall, looking confused, asking me what was wrong. Apparently, she had been in the bathroom. In my masculine crusade, I'd forgotten to check there. I looked out of my car and into the forest, and honestly, the first thought that came to my mind was, "You clever motherfucker." Needless to say, we stayed up the remaining few hours until dawn, intermittently writing down the voices we heard, which faded away and became less frequent with the passage of time. I'll try to get the recordings up in a few days. For now, here is that list of voices we heard. We recalled some of the voices from the previous nights from memory, but I just figured you'd like to know what was being said throughout the duration of this lovely cabin experience. I will return to Colorado, but fuck Pikes Peak. A man's voice, vaguely familiar, but couldn't put a face to it.
Hello? Oh, God. Look at it. Look. Hello? Don't. Don't. They see in the dark. I'm lost. I'm lost. Watchu. Whoa my. It's dark. It's very dark. I see those lights. I'll come down there. Don't smile. Don't smile. I see you.
A woman's voice, sounded age 20-ish, last night. Lay it on the ground and burn it. La 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 la. La 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 la. She talks in her sleep. She's talking to me now. A child, sounded about 6 to 8 years old.
Oh, sorry, I do. Why do I do? Eat, eat, eat. I am a naked soul, me, I do. When do we go inside? When do we go inside?
Voice of my mother, a few nights ago.
Stop, stop. Look at the windows. Did you see it?
Voice of Faye's grandfather, a few nights ago.
Oh, help. Help. Something about the war. There's bodies still in the ground there. Never found them. But they're there. Right here. Right here. Ooh, they found it. They found it. Oh, I'm standing in the same place. 20 years.
By the way, I forgot to check to see if that dream catcher was still there out back. You're welcome to drive out there and look for yourself, though. So, that night we sat down with Faye's mum Laura in her bedroom, while her dad was watching the news downstairs. Her mum was so upset at the stories we told her. I mean, she was visibly disturbed to the point of being in tears. She kept apologising to Faye and hugging her. Laura told us that they'd purchased that cabin from their good friend, who moved to Nevada about 20 years ago, and that Jennifer and her husband had complained about all sorts of weird experiences while living there. Her husband, Tom, like myself, was fond of hiking and exploring. He collected things in the woods, tons of arrowheads and other neat trinkets he'd found on his travels around Pikes Peak. But Jennifer started having dreams about Tom being dragged off into the woods from their bedroom. She had all kinds of horrific nightmares, about him being skinned, pinned up in the trees like some kind of macabre artwork. Jennifer said that while Tom was at work, she would occasionally hear the voice of her daughter, who died in childhood of some kind of bone cancer, calling, "Mummy," from the edge of the forest. Jennifer's doctors claimed it was the medication she was on and changed her meds. Tom got a new job in Vegas. They basically noped out of there. On a lighter note, Tom hanged himself in the garage 2 years after they moved. No note or anything. Anyway, Laura, Faye's mum, and Greg, Faye's dad, only used the cabin as a getaway in the summers. Laura had never experienced anything beyond weird feelings while she was there, and she choked all that up to all the crazy stories Jennifer had told her. Greg, however, who suffers from PTSD-related nightmares, experienced exacerbated sleep disturbances in the cabin. Over the years, he became reluctant to go there, and claimed that all the things he'd seen in Vietnam came back to him when he slept there. Allegedly, some of the people he saw get killed would come back and talk to him in his dreams at that cabin. The last time he stayed there, he woke up in a dream to find a few of them sitting in his bedroom with him, maimed, rotted. He privately maintained to Laura that he also heard their voices in the forests, crying, begging, screaming for their mothers. Oh, and guess what time he always heard them? Laura told us that she honestly didn't believe there was anything really wrong with the cabin. Faye was extremely pissed and let her have it. They kind of ended our visit on a bad note. Later that night, I was up reading and Faye was sleeping next to me. She always falls asleep before me. That girl could fall asleep on a pile of rocks. She She started mumbling in her sleep, so I listened carefully, and here are a few things I heard her say. Never, never, never. No, I wouldn't. On the mountain. I can't. Why? His name. We don't know you. No, it's Felix, my name. After about 2 hours, she woke me up by nudging me in her sleep and saying, "Tell the man in the hall to leave." This set me over the edge, so I went to the bathroom to get some water. I didn't find anything strange. Had a hard time falling asleep though. This morning, we heard back from the guy who went up to the cabin to check it for gas leaks and carbon monoxide at the behest of a few scrupulous Redditors. He's some kind of super badass handyman with all kinds of equipment, so he wrangled up one of the Peak Rangers and they went up to the place together. Apparently, there were tracks all around the house, 12 pairs of them, like a large group of people had been wandering around and looking in the windows. All of the windows and doors were sealed the way we left them. When they got inside, some stuff was moved around. The silverware drawer was emptied onto the kitchen floor and turned upside down. The power was completely dead. The weirdest thing was that there was water all over the bed and on the floor, but our guy checked for leaks in the ceiling and the bathroom pipes. Nothing. Nothing had been stolen from the house. Not even food. Some of the old clothes in the bedroom closet were strewn on the ground, but nothing stolen. Like maybe someone was trying them on, smelling them. The ranger said that there were legends about the mountain, something about things that sort of act like people, but they came out of the old abandoned mines. Greg's friend couldn't remember the name the ranger gave them. It was in a native language. I asked Greg to ask the ranger about the sounds I heard, specifically the wachu wachu, oh my, and he said, it's a widely recognizable chant, but he doesn't know what it means. Anyone here have any idea? No radon, no carbon monoxide, and no gas. The place is all electric. He checked for mold, but said it was unlikely that there would be any all the way up there. He did say it's possible that there's some kind of electrical problem, and that this can sometimes cause people to feel very unsettled and maybe have hallucinations. He has some kind of Geiger counter or a gadget that detects issues like this, but it was broken when he tried to use it. I'm gonna keep a close eye on Faye. She's still shaken about all of this. If there's anything left to report, I'll let you know. Update. 21st of the 4th, 2016. We have begun hearing voices outside of our home. Faye is really upset. Feels that I might have exacerbated these strange circumstances by giving them widespread exposure online. I'm going to go dark for a few days, see if that helps. Don't worry about us. We have a few close friends looking out for us.